This is Greg Troutwine with Maritime Reporter TV, and we're very pleased to be joined today with Brent Perry, the CEO of Sterling PBES, a leading marine battery solutions for hybrid and electric ships. I know we haven't seen each other in person for a while. It's nice to catch up with you.
It's great to see you as well again, Greg. You know, when I began my career as a boat builder, God, 40 odd years ago now, I never anticipated I would have come into the energy storage space like this. And it was an interesting series of events. It was actually the last economic crisis that drove us to look for alternative things to be involved with in marine and drove me to lithium energy storage. And the outset of that crisis was that business changed substantially and nothing was ever going to be the same again in 2009. And we started Corvus Energy. And that has obviously become a bit of a juggernaut in the industry. And at first we had the industry to ourselves. We were the only cats in the room. By 2014 or 2015, though, there were a lot of players. You know, we went through a corporate breakup and I started Plan B. And that has been a challenging and difficult path in some ways. But since we partnered up with the Sterling Group last year in September, we closed our business with those guys. This has just gone from one strength to another. And now we just can't keep up with what's going on in the marine space. It's phenomenal.
Can you give us a by the numbers look at Sterling PBES today?
Sure. So when we put this group together last fall, we were effectively starting with zero. So it's a new company, if you want, with that. So we had to reestablish ourselves with all of our contacts and all of our partners in the marine space. We had a number of installations that we had to take over the servicing and support of from Plan B. So it was a difficult transition and kind of an interesting experience for us. We've had to recertify our DNV type approval, you know, all the kind of fundamental basics of the industry. And then we were getting right back into gear in, say, January, February when COVID hit. And COVID-19 obviously put a big slam on the business and everyone's business for a few months. But in some ways, it actually gave us the opportunity to reestablish a lot of the fundamental principles and redesign our business to meet, we'll call it the COVID reality. But even with that, the pregnancy of the industry for the need of what we do is just driving a phenomenal amount of business. So we're right now sitting in a position where we had anticipated delivering somewhere in the neighborhood of $21 million worth of product, which is about 35 megawatt hours. And we're scheduled to blow past that to almost $40 million. And we're looking at the following year as a year of over 100, maybe $120 million, with about a quarter of that already committed today. So from where we were 10 years ago as a startup industry, which really didn't have any presence with propellers running by batteries at all, to the adoption the industry is taking today, being driven both by the efficiency that we bring and the legislation that's coming in to support climate change, or climate management, maybe a better word. We've just seen fundamental growth, and it's helped us to both make a good business out of this, but also helped us to really learn how energy storage can fundamentally input and make positive impact on all of the partners that we have. So it's saving fuel, it's saving operational costs is a really great thing. But on the backside of it now, we're seeing such a measured improvement to the environmental impact of what we do. It's really rewarding when you come from a sort of a rust and riches kind of approach of fixing boats that weren't good for the economy and the environment a long time ago.
Can you put in perspective the acceleration, the pace of acceleration of change you see regarding the marine industry, which by many estimates is fairly conservative, on the uptake of new battery technology?
Yeah, I can. The truth of that, Greg, is today, 80%, and I'm talking of every vessel being made today, 80% of the vessels that are under design consideration to go to project and execution are going to include energy storage in some shape or form. Initially, it was ferries and tugboats were the two verticals that had the practical application and made financial sense. That's now expanded to the point where a good portion of our business is being made up of blue water carriers. I work with a group called Zestus. I'm the chairman of Zero Emission Ship Technology Association. Our role there is to help influence IMO with sustainable legislation. And basically, we're creating metrics within IMO that ships are going to be graded on their environmental contribution or their environmental impact, if you want. And freight rates are going to be decided now by environmental impact.
When you look at providing battery solutions, energy storage solutions, what do you see as some of the unique challenges within the marine industry versus a land-based industry?
You have some application challenges in that marine tends to run 24/7, 365. So you can't transfer car technology into the marine industry. The user requirement, the service requirement, the uptime requirement is significantly different, and that requires a whole nother level of execution at the engineering level. The other is that, to be perfectly blunt, nobody needs a battery. A battery by itself is just an element. And ship owners and operators and fleet managers today aren't looking to become experts in energy storage. They want to buy a solution. So bringing in the power electronics, AC or DC, the batteries, the fuel cells, the new fuel structures that everybody's looking at, and packaging them up into something that is turnkey so that the customer basically can plug it in one direction or the other and run, is maybe one of the more unique challenges about the marine industry, because it's such a complex infrastructure on board a ship. You're dealing with basically powering a city of some dimension or a town every time you build a vessel like this. And the more that people incorporate energy storage, fundamentally, the better payback and the better improvement of performance that you have. I had a long conversation with an owner of 300 offshore vessels the other day. And he said, tell me, what's the fundamental value of your industry? And I said, well, it's a really simple one-line drawing. You need generation on one side, you have a battery in the middle, and then you have the application at the end. And if I can figure out how generation is going to charge my batteries at constant speed, constant power, and my batteries are going to supply all the dynamic load that the application needs, so that's the way I can deliver the fundamental payback that these guys need to have. If I do that, then you have a payback today of between 1 and 3 years. And these are on systems that will be installed for up to 30 years. So the metrics today are to the point where we're not pushing into the space anymore, Greg. We're being pulled into the space.
When you look at the industry by vessel niche or geography, where do you see opportunity in the coming 1 to 5 years?
That's kind of the frightening part, Greg. The Northern Europe, Scandinavia, Denmark, and Norway, if you want, really were the markets that started the ball. And it's a fundamental support mechanism of really powerful government support, legislative support, social support, and a willingness to actually put projects in the water that those two countries represented that started the use of energy storage in the world. The Northern European market has sustained itself and is growing very quickly. And we've seen that through commitment to zero emission vessels by 2030, 2040, 2050. But in Northern Europe, though, is effectively the light that's gone ahead. Now places like the Mediterranean, Southeast Asia, India, China, even North America is starting to take up the mantle, and they're basically where we were in Norway 10 years ago. The conversations I have with the ship owners and operators feels a little bit like deja vu, except now we can point at a number of vessels that are actually working every day and let people put their hands on jobs that are performing and see the financial benefits that the early stage people brought into the marketplace.
Can you share details of a recent project or two that truly illustrate the solution that you discuss?
Sure. So this year we focused, so our product, Greg, as you know, is fundamentally based on a very repeatable energy storage module, right? Everything we do is the same shape. We have different capacities of the lithium cells that we use to match different applications. And that's a really great place to start, because service and support of effectively a repeatable product is something everybody enjoys. This year, we saw the need for something beyond energy storage, and we created what we call CAN Power, which is a containerized microgrid. So basically it incorporates all of the fundamental safety and management systems, incorporates the AC power conversion equipment and the energy storage itself within a box. And because we've changed the design of our battery a little bit, instead of it being a 100-volt module, we've now doubled the number of cells, so it's a 200-volt module. We were able to increase the energy density of a 20-foot container to almost 2 megawatt hour, including the power electronics, because footprint size costs money, right? So if you're on the back of a ship or on the deck of a ship, the smaller the footprint you can deliver, the better. That single piece of product, if you want, that one solution has completely transformed our business. So today we're applying it with offshore blue water vessels as a cold ironing solution. So not only does it supplement and augment their offshore performance by replacing generators in operation during transit, but it gives them the latitude to come into a port either under electric propulsion, if that's part of the package, so they're not putting any heavy fuel oil into the air at all. But when they're at the port, it gives them a range of between about 18 and 30 hours of operational time for loading and unloading without having to tie into the port at all. So completely self-contained cold ironing with the ability to be a peak shave, black start preventive, performance augmentation tool when it's doing its regular trip, which 3 years ago, the cost metrics did not make any sense for that at all. We've recently signed the deal to provide a fleet of LNG carriers with these cold ironing solutions. The other one, which is really dear to my heart, is a partnership we're building with a company called Cavitec, which provides the onshore charging connections for a lot of our battery systems, because that's been one of the big challenges, is how do you charge the batteries? And Cavitec, I started working with Cavitec at the very beginning when we started designing the Ampere in Norway, so back in 2008, 2009, and came up with the sledge charging system that's we've used on many vessels to date. A partnership with a group like Cavitec to tie charging into our battery systems in a way that is suitable for these kind of vessels is a unique way for us to offer a turnkey to the customer as well. And part of that is an innovation which I'm revealing to you for the first time. We're launching this product officially in about 3 or 4 weeks, and this is called the Cartridge battery. So what we've done is take a look at things like fast cat vessels, fast passenger vessels that can't add a lot of weight. And we've designed a battery system that will plug into the boat like a battery will plug onto your drill. And literally with a small crane on shore, we can pick this battery up when it's depleted out of the boat and drop a new battery that's fully charged in. And we build an infrastructure for charging the batteries on the shore, just like a car charging station. So we take away the need to manage fast charging and all the weight and everything that the battery system brings onto these boats, and really is a deliberate, debilitates the performance of the vessel, if you want, and replace it now with a battery system that's probably lighter than the old fuel heavy engine that you had in. When you take the wet weight and the metal into account, we're significantly less than that. And the speed of transfer of an energy storage block here is about a minute. So it's not an impediment to performance at all. And you can load them in like cartridges. So you can have 3 or 4 batteries on one ship and a load at a time, or you can have a single battery. But what we can do now is treat the battery like it's a switchable commodity within an infrastructure and have charging stations vessels can pull in, and they can all use different batteries, but because the form factor is all the same. And that's going to, I think, revolutionize that whole aspect of the industry as well, starting this fall.
When you look at your industry, what do you see as the chief challenges to furthering the business in the coming years?
You know, Greg, the chief challenge is that the acceptance of this as a commercial technology is happened too fast. So when you think about it, I have the oldest installed battery systems in the marine industry in the world. I don't have a system yet that has been running for 10 years. So when you think about the global adoption and the pace of business growth on this, on the marine industry usually would take 10 years just to be in business to prove that you should be in the business, let alone develop this kind of impact. So knowledge that we're gaining from every time a vessel travels with a battery, which is contributing to the improvement of the type approval standards and the engineering and the safety of the systems and how we design everything, is coming to us, but it's not coming to us faster than the pace of the business growth. So managing that and working with the class and the flag authorities to ensure that we are always delivering a safe product and not letting the standards down if you want to deal with the demand of the market, but effectively making sure we keep everybody safe and do this, is a big challenge in the industry. I've seen, we've had our own technical issues and applications as we've tried things that nobody had ever tried before. It's the nature of the beast, but we learn from them and we incorporate them into our design and make it better for the next day. But that is probably, to me, the single biggest challenge that we face, is that we have to keep up with the safety and the engineering standards.